You don't agree that Israel actions are terrible?
No, not on the whole.
Okay, so why so?
You'd have to give an argument as to why they are. You can't prove a non-fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like, take for example, cutting off food and water to Gaza, the Gaza Strip. Do you find that to be appropriate? Is that okay? All's
I don't
fair
think
in love and
Israel
war, right?
Yeah, no, Israel didn't cut off water before the war
They
began.
didn't?
Before the war began, they only provided 10 to 14% of Gazan water, and they provided that for free. And 65% of Gazan water was welled locally, and the rest of it was
So
mostly
just to be
desalinated.
clear, there's no famine. There's no famine there.
I mean, there isn't mass starvation. There will be people dying.
There's no mass starvation.
Not that can be pointed to. What we've seen so far are isolated cases of people who are experiencing malnutrition. What we've not seen is mass starvation.
So let me just be clear, right? This article, have you ever looked at this article before?
One sec.
Lots of photos on that one. I can't even show this on stream. It's too horrible.
Okay. I mean, the articles that have been given are cases that I've read are talking about 29 or 35 children, usually.
29 to 35 children?
Or 29 to 30, yes, 29 to 35, sorry, cases of starvation, yeah.
So you're going to tell me that this entire article is only referencing 25 to 30 people?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So how many people are dying of famine, do you think?
I don't know. There hasn't been any evidence that I've seen presented.
So it's not 25 to 35 people, is it?
I didn't claim that it was. I was saying that the articles that I don't know where you got that idea that I said that from.
Well, I'm asking you because you alluded to it. So I'm asking you. Do you think it's this?
Hang on. I did not allude to the idea that I thought that there was just something like 35 people dying.
What I mean by alluded to it is it based on what you said.
I didn't say.
I'm operating. Hey, is this what he means? And so I ask you to clarify what you mean.
No. Well, you then implied by accusation that I said that, but either way, no. I think I've not read this article you've sent. The articles that I have read reference cases of 29 and 35 people who are mentioned who are like referred to in the article. Not that there should be, but there are.
So it says here, 9 out of 10 children aged 6 months to 2 years in Gaza live in severe child food poverty. A UNICEF survey in late May found this means that they are eating from 2 or fewer food groups a day, which UNICEF Garg says means grains of some form of milk. This has been the case since December of 2023, with only a slight improvement in April of 2024. She said as many 85% of children of all ages did not eat for a whole day, and at least 1 in 3 days before the survey was conducted. The main cause of the acute malnutrition in North Gaza is a lack of diversity in the diets of children and pregnant and breastfeeding women, according to a report in February of 2024 under the Global Nutrition Cluster, a group of humanitarian agencies led by UNICEF.
I don't see why. Well, two things. Firstly, this isn't a case for problems of food quantity. Like my
what?
argument
what do you think?
You're gonna have to let me finish my fucking sentence. You're gonna have to let me finish my fucking sentence at some point, really, like genuinely, because you keep on cutting me off before the clarification, and then taking me wrong, and then like repeatedly saying something that I'm not, like repeating me, but saying something that I'm not saying. Go ahead. So what's going? Okay. So if you look at April, for instance, in April, on average, 6.26 pounds per person of food were shipped into Gaza. If you assume the UNRWA numbers, which are that 70% of the trucks that went into Gaza were carrying food, as in like 70% of the quantity of the truck was weighted as food. It was 6.26 pounds of food per day per person in April. This is like somewhere between £1 and £3 more food than the average American. It's not to say that there isn't, like, I don't need to argue that there isn't famine in Gaza. What I need to argue is that it's a distribution problem, not a supply problem.
So I'm just curious, did Israel cut off food, water, and electricity?
Water, Israel didn't mostly have the power to cut off. Electricity, Israel did cut off. And food...
Well, they definitely cut off water.
Israel didn't have the power to cut off water. 65% of gas and water was locally
yes,
well.
Yes, they did.
65% of gas and water.
I understand that
all
of the water comes from Israel. It doesn't. That is not required. No. The point is that I gave you a credible source of Reuters
that is telling majority,
you thousands of children are starving.
The vast majority.
And Israel made the decision to cut off the water and electricity. They did do that. We know that to be the case.
The vast majority of gas and water is sourced in Gaza, not coming from Israel.
So I'm going to point out the MUAC screening data across Gaza since mid-January found that more than 7,000 children aged 6 months to about 5 years were already what is, quote, acutely malnourished as of May of 26th, the United Nations Humanitarian Agency of OCHA said. So I'm going to just show you what this looks like, right? I'm going to post it in side chat. You could see there's going to be the arm of severe acute malnutrition and what a healthy arm looks like for a child. And you could see a comparative size of 6 centimeters in diameter to understand just how bad it is.
I noticed you've done nothing to respond to what I'm saying. Your claim
I have responded to what you said. What I'm saying is your argument is so horrendous. It is you're going against the reality of the situation at this point, right? Because you said famine is not happening, but it is. It is confirmed to the United States. The United States themselves went in and checked. UNICEF checked. The World Health Organization checked. Reuters checked. So we know it's happening, right? And here's the problem: Israel, right? They claim that they have done nothing, that they have not exacerbated this, that they're sending in food. The problem that I'm having with the argument on this is that Israel themselves cut off water and electricity in the past. And there wasn't severe malnutrition prior to the war. So I can only infer what is likely happening here. Israel is doing what they can to defend themselves, and I'm not against them defending themselves, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit harsh. Don't you think? Right? Considering how many children are dying of malnutrition?
How is it? So your claim being that Israel cut off water and electricity, it certainly cut off electricity. Israel supplied 14% of the water to Gaza, and the other 80%
they cut off.
Yes, the other 80% was sourced locally. It's not possible for them to cut that off.
That doesn't matter. There's malnutrition and they're cutting off supplies.
So no, there wasn't malnutrition at the point at which they cut off the supplies. But just to clarify, your argument, so your definition of cut off water is I failed to provide free water to a country I'm at war with. That's your... And by the way, failed to provide, like 85% of the water in Gaza is still accessible in Gaza.
Anybody that knows anything about counterinsurgency knows for a fact that you don't destroy the local population, right? What you do is you help the local population so that way that the local population will be on your side. That's not what appears to be happening in Israel. What Israel is doing to the Gazan citizens is starving them to death.
This isn't currently counterinsurgency.
No shit.
Israel.
No shit. It's a genocide. It's a genocide. No. We know what it is. We've seen this before. Yes, it is. You don't think so?
No,
How
it's
so?
not.
How
No,
so?
I mean you can accuse Israel of.
Explain how these 6-month-old to 5-year-olds deserved it. Go ahead, explain.
I'm sorry, those are two unrelated questions.
Oh, 7,000 of them seem to disagree with you, but all right.
What? No. The unrelated questions are whether or not.
No, I think it's very related.
Well, what do you think's related then? What am I talking about? Go on, explain to me what I'm going to say.
You're arguing that Israel didn't cause the famine, correct?
That wasn't what I was going to say. No.
Okay, so then what did Israel cause the famine?
That wasn't the. No, I'm gonna
That's
force.
fair. You could be saying something else. That's fine. I'm asking you. Do you think Israel is causing the famine?
Yeah, we can do this afterwards. I'm gonna force us to stay on one point, which is that you accused Israel of genocide.
Yeah, they are. It's very clear to me. Why would they cut off water and electricity, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, now that they're at war, now there's a bunch of malnutrition kids. Their arms are a third the length, or a third the width that they normally would be.
What's your definition of genocide, sorry?
What? The definition of genocide, I would have to use the 1950s Geneva Convention. But if you want a short definition of genocide, I can go ahead and give you that.
No, I want the actual definition you're using. You're using the Article 2 definition, right?
The deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Not quite, but it's close.
It's literally the Google definition, bro. It's Oxford Language Dictionary. So what am I supposed to do?
The genocide. One sec, I need to get my charger. The Genocide Convention definition is an attempt to destroy in whole or part of a racial group. So it's close, but it's not quite.
Yeah, there's also the Geneva Convention, which would also likely argue that this is the. I cannot believe you're defending
I missed
this.
That. Well, at the moment, I'm not defending. I'm just saying it's not a genocide.
What is it?
Genocide. What is it?
What is it?
Currently war. You're defending it.
Is it war?
It's a genocide.
Really?
It's actually a rather serious accusation.
Is it war?
However much you want to skip
Let me ask you this.
Genocide
what war are you involved in where you kill as many civilians as physically possible? Where do you do that?
Do you genuinely think Israel is killing as many civilians as possible?
Do you think that a 2-month-old to a 5-year-old are they Hamas?
No.
Okay, well, we found 7,000 of them starving to death.
No, hang on. You like to ask questions and you don't like to answer them. Do you genuinely think Israel is killing as many civilians as it can? Currently? That was the accusation you just made.
I think that they are doing as much that they can without effectively getting the genocide thing labeled on them. But yes, I do believe they want to get rid of as many Palestinians as possible, and that seems to be clear with the way that they are rounding up people in the West the West Bank, as well as the carpet bombing level of destruction that happened under Gaza that is visible for anyone to see through social media and through reputable news sites.
So do you think that's sad. It's sad. Sorry, not the Americans. We're killing as many people as he possibly could in Aleppo.
What?
You said you can tell from social media the carpet levels of destruction. Well, the carpet bombing levels of destruction doesn't correlate with the number of people died as a proportion of population. You look at the number of buildings destroyed.
Do you count 7,000 children that were just collected? And by the way, that's just like what they saw in northern Gaza. Who the heck knows what's beyond? How many people are starving to death right now as we speak?
Well, we know that the famine's more acute, such as there is a famine in northern Gaza. That's what we know.
What's north of Gaza?
I don't know what you're missing.
Wait, this is amazing.
No,
what's north of Gaza?
Gaza?
Why can't they get food?
Northern
What's
Gaza,
north of
that's
Gaza?
what I said. Northern.
Huh? What's north of Gaza?
I said northern Gaza. I didn't say north of. I said northern.
Yeah. I'm asking you, what is north of Gaza?
Kerem Shalom, Israel, Ezekiel.
Israel. Like it is. Interesting. And in northern Gaza, people are starving to death. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
What? I don't understand how this is a gotcha.
Were they starving prior to the war?
Is the argument serious?
Were they starving prior to the war?
Preventable. 1 second. No, they weren't.
Okay, and then after the war, or during the war, now they're starving, right?
Because distribution is very difficult in an area controlled by terrorist groups.
Now that there is a war, they're starving, right?
Yeah, like I said, distribution is very difficult in an area controlled by terrorist
groups. You're breaking up. Distribution is really difficult in an area where there's war. Well, you know what's interesting about war-torn areas is that you can actually drop off food via airplane and just drop it via box. So that way people, the citizens, this is part of counterinsurgency. This is possible. And this is well within Israel's capability. Okay? But they're not doing that, right? And Israel is saying that Hamas is hoarding the food. Hamas is saying Israel is blocking the food. But I feel like, now, mind you, I don't like Hamas just as much as you, right? Hamas is terrible. And I'm not super keen on the idea that many Gazan citizens, a majority of them, actually support Hamas. I'm not in favor of that either, right? But when I'm thinking about regular citizens and children, right, they're not really like complicit in the negative actions, right? And so what needs to happen, or what generally happens in war, when you're not interested in genociding a group of an ethnic group of people, is you use counterinsurgency. You specifically can take a plane and with supplies, drop supplies down. No supply lines needed, because all you got to do is take a plane over. It's just a small strip. You could drop food wherever there's famine, and then the citizens can eat. Do you see the problem? But they're not doing that. Why not? Why aren't they doing that?
Yeah. Jordan and the US tried that. A third of the food ended in the sea.
What? I'm asking Israel. Why shouldn't Israel do that? And yes, I agree. Yeah, the United States should put food. And I don't care if a third of it ended
Jordan
in the sea.
And the US,
if 2/3 of it goes into babies' mouths, that's a good idea.
All the food is evenly distributed.
What the hell does it matter if it's evenly distributed?
Hello?
They're starving. What?
Because the effect of it not being distributed evenly
I'll be honest,
is that they're going to be people that are starving still.
I'm honestly so upset at this that I'm finding it hard to argue with you without kind of like losing my shit.
Oh, don't worry, I find it difficult to argue with you that doesn't answer either.
Well, you're just seeming to like downplay the very obvious mass death and killing that's happening among innocent civilians, such as children. We saw 7,000
when
of
you
them
when you
with
do,
acute malnutrition.
are you
7,000.
Yeah, you're talking about malnutrition currently, not bombs, yeah?
What?
Saying death of civilians. Like,
Malnutrition.
there has been, in
you
terms
said
of,
earlier that there wasn't famine. Now
yes,
we've moved
okay,
to the point that we know there's famine. So I've already moved you on that point, right? Now the question becomes is who's responsible, right? And I was willing to say maybe it is Hamas, right? But if you think about it, right, Hamas has been in Gaza for a while now, okay? And under Hamas rule, the people weren't starving to death, okay? It's only until the war, where the war starts, that all of a sudden, famine, okay? And your argument is, well, it's hard to move items in war-torn area. I agree, it is. Correct. You don't have the supply lines necessary to be able to feed everybody. That's correct. Very well. Why doesn't Israel send humanitarian aid? Food. Water.
What do you mean? Israel has been providing humanitarian aid.
Have they?
Allowing.
Have they?
Yes, I'm sending you a study on the subject. That's not what
I've observed. That is not what is observed.
Okay, one sec. I'm sending you a working paper on the subject. I hate my phone. Because it seems to me that there's not so much a supply problem in Gaza as there is a distribution problem, like I said.
What? You don't need to have a distribution problem. You drop boxes of food where the people are. You use a plane.
Yeah,
we do this all the time for counterinsurgency. This isn't new. This isn't some brand new technology. It's not expensive technology either.
I told you what happens when they try to airdrop food in. They
a third of it goes into the sea. Therefore, screw it. Who cares? We don't need to worry about 7,000 starving children.
No. Maybe a third of it goes into the sea. A third of it gets captured by Hamas, and then a third of it ends up in the
Who cares? Who cares?
Who cares? Who cares? The people who care are the people who want Palestinians to eat.
Yeah, we're gonna see how good Israel's gonna look after this war is over, my dude.
I mean, correct. Israel's losing the Hasbara war. I agree. If what your idea
it's
is
disgusting
that it's more effective,
what you're arguing, right? Because the 7,000 children weren't responsible for the death.
I agree. 7,000 children weren't responsible. Can I now get a word in edgewise? If your idea is that it's significantly more effective to drop food, like airdrop food, than it is to deliver it like through on lorries, then you would have to explain why it's been so inefficient when they dropped 38,000 tons of food up to this point. Currently, presumably, the reason that they're going through on lorries is because it's more efficient.
What? That doesn't matter. The problem is that you need to get as much food there as physically possible so you don't have mass destruction of Palestinian people who didn't do anything, right? Now, mind you, there are Palestinians that do bad. And Hamas is terrible people. And yes, I agree. I don't think that we should be helping bolster Hamas via food and water. But at the same time, handing down food and water for the civilians, right, would reduce the civilians ending up dying. But because Israel has done nothing, but in fact done the exact opposite, right? And again, I can point more Reuters articles that shows that they did cut off water, they did cut off electricity when people needed it the most. And the fact that Hamas did control Gaza, right, during that time, and yet people didn't starve. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, Israel is complicit in the death of the undescriptive death of thousands of Palestinians. That's
How is it
the
possible to cut
reality,
off
right?
water
After
that's
enough
sourced locally?
research, I've come to that conclusion. And so the problem is,
How is
I'm
it
going to go.
possible to cut off water that's why
My,
is it? How is it possible to cut
my
off
dude,
water that's
your
sourced
argument
locally?
is so gross that at this point,
Yeah, I noticed you don't
I
answer the
am going
question.
to let you have the last word, and I'm cutting it off because I cannot stand this. Go ahead.
I'm so confused. You keep on saying.
I'll even answer your
You keep,
question if that's what you wanted last do. Go ahead.
yeah, please. How is it possible to cut off water that's sourced locally?
Huh? Oh, it's not possible. But you
How?
have water that is not locally sourced, and then you cut that off.
Okay,
Anything
so
else for me?
85% of Gaza's water is still available to Gazans.
You got
Okay.
anything else for me, buddy?
Well, you keep on. What do you mean? It was your accusation. It wasn't mine. I noticed. What happens is you kind of make accusations in passing, Israel, at least in this conversation,
I'm going to let
and then
you
you
have
kind
the
of.
last word, and that's about it. If your
Okay,
entire last word is just going to lambast me, go ahead.
okay, should we move on topic?
I mean, that's it, right? We're good?
Yeah, I'm happy to move on.
All right. Good talk, buddy. Oh, Jesus, fuck. That was freaking disgusting. Holy crap. That was actually sickening to my stomach. Sorry.